Hello beautiful people. So today I really want to talk about how to overcome your significant other or partner not wanting to travel when you really want to travel. This is something I've personally experienced quite firsthand myself. It's something I've always struggled with since I was out of university, not even since I was out of university, since I started college. It's always been a big thing for me, and I think it's been one of my biggest issues with a lot of long-term relationships, is that I've wanted to travel and explore and see the world, and the person I was with at the time doesn't exactly want to do that right now. So yeah, you're in a situation where, you know, this could be one of two ways. You're either already in a long-term relationship and you suddenly decide that, you know, all these years I've wanted to travel, but now I really want to do it. I want to go balls to the walls and get out there, full-time traveler. I want to move country. I don't want to be in this country anymore. I just want to move. I want to travel. I want to be in the world. Like that might be your situation. You're already in a relationship and you want to travel now. You know, you've been waiting and now it's your time. The second scenario, which can happen too, which is more rare, but it's not more rare, but it is also a bit destructive, is that you have been traveling, or you are a traveler, and then you meet someone on your travels who doesn't necessarily, either is a traveler currently and doesn't want to be anymore, or doesn't want to travel. Maybe if you move to a country, you meet someone who's native to that country and they're not a traveler, or they don't want to travel. Okay, let's start with the first scenario. So you've been in a long-term relationship and now you want to travel. What do you do about that? Your SO, significant other, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, does not want to travel right now. They're not into it, or they've got a permanent full-time job and they're not in a situation where they can travel. They don't have the means or the want to do it. So this is tough. Because you got to kind of look at it from a couple of points of view. You got to think, am I willing to sacrifice this relationship to travel, or am I willing to sacrifice travel to have this relationship, or can we come to a compromise? This is literally the only way this can end. There is no other alternative to this. That is it, really. Okay, those are the three options. So if you've been in a really long-term relationship and travel is something you really want to do, like, travel is not something you should take like easily or lightly, and it's not a decision you should make on whim, which I've done constantly, but that's just me. I'm okay because I understand the consequences of what I'm doing. I already know it might end badly, and I'm okay with that because that's part of the journey. But it's something you should really think about, because it could change your life. It could change who you are. You could go traveling for 3 years and come back and be a completely different person. And maybe you decided to do the long distance relationship thing with your significant other, and you come back, they're different, you're different, it doesn't work. So are you willing to take that risk? And are you willing to kind of restrict yourself in your traveling? I found a lot, for me specifically, this doesn't happen for a lot of people, but for me specifically, when I'm in a relationship, I find it hard to travel without the person I'm with, mainly because I feel like I don't have the same freedoms as someone who's single and travel does, which, yes, really theoretically speaking, you don't, because you're in a relationship. But also, I don't want to put myself in a situation where I am in like some kind of, I don't know, something happens that is out of my control. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't want to be in a situation where, oh, I go out with the girls, we have a couple of drinks, and then some guy tries to hit on me, and before I know it, he's kissing me. I'm like, oh shit, get off me. But there's nothing I can do by then. And do you know what I mean? You don't want to be in those kind of situations. So you find that you're holding back and not doing all the things you want to do. I'm personally like that. I just can't have both worlds in my eyes. I just can't have both pieces of the pie. I can't just go out and party and live wild like I'm single when I'm not, you know? So I find that that always kind of hurt me as a traveler sometimes, being in a relationship and traveling alone or not with the person I'm with, which is why it's always been my preference to be with someone who travels. If you decide to leave your long-term boyfriend, girlfriend at home and go off on your travels and come back, do understand things may change, do understand that you might have some restrictions doing a long distance relationship, do understand that you may not always be able to keep contact, and they may not either. They may, I don't know, so many things can happen. I don't want to say what if, but at the same time, if you truly love that person, you want to make it work, you will make it work, right? And if it's not forever, if you do plan to come home, you do plan to settle down in the country that your significant other is, or they plan to join you at some point, it can definitely work. So don't let that mislead you. So your other option is that you can exterminate the relationship. That's a really big and hard decision to make. If you've been with someone for a long time and then you get to a point where you realize that you both want something completely different. You want to travel, they don't want to travel. And you really want to travel, and you're not willing to sacrifice that, and you have sacrificed it during your relationship. If they're not willing to compromise with you on this, and they're not willing to make a way, or they don't want you to go, that's the deal breaker really. They don't want you to go, and they're refusing to let you go off into the world and travel. They may want to reconsider how this relationship is gonna work. If they're commanding you to stay, didn't know I was a slave. Do you want your freedom? Do you want to travel? Or do you really cherish this relationship so much you're willing to sacrifice all of that? If you are, then power to you, good luck. I'm joking. No, honestly, like there are some people who you're ride or dies and you would give up anything for them, and that's totally understandable, especially if you have time. So we have compromise. This is the big one. Compromise. This is how most people do it. So a lot of people realize that making the big sacrifices isn't exactly the best decision for both people. So one person having to sacrifice a lot is never an ideal situation, and you rarely want to put it in that. You know, you don't want that to happen, because eventually one person is probably going to resent the other, or someone is going to want theirs. You know, they're going to want to get theirs now. You know, it'll come to a time where they're like, okay, we've been traveling for a while, I gave up everything, I decided to come with you, now can we settle down? Do you know what I mean? So there's going to be some big give and big take. It's something to think about. But compromise is where you can both come to an agreement of how it's going to work, whether that's doing long distance, which I see as a compromise, or whether it's, you know, deciding to go for a little while, or going on one trip, a couple of trips during the year instead of moving completely abroad. That is also another compromise that can be made. It's difficult when you just want to get up and go and you don't want to live in your city anymore. It's really hard when you just want to leave home. When I was in sixth form, which is like college, not college, American college, but like senior year high school. When I was in sixth form, all I wanted to do was leave home. I just want to leave home and I wanted to go to a new city. And that's when I kind of felt like, oh yeah, I think I have this want for a bit of travel and adventure. I think this is where the first seeds were really sown. You know, it was even before Camp America. It was like, I knew I wanted something new. That's it. I wanted change. And when you have that kind of feeling that you don't want to be there, it's really hard to ignore, and it's really hard to stay happy in the situation you're in when all you want to do is be somewhere else, which is, it's a tough one. So, you know, sometimes it is better to just go off and have that adventure and experience things, because you never know what you're missing. You never know what you're turning down to stay in one position, you know. And I've never been someone to do that, so I found that, yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's a tough one though. Second situation, if you meet someone while you're abroad, you're traveling abroad and you've met a guy or a girl, someone that you want to start a relationship with, or just so happen to start a relationship with unintentionally. You know, you're on the vow to stay single for the rest of your life, and then all of a sudden this guy comes around and comes and freaking messes up your life and decides he wants to be all cute and all like charismatic, you know, and invade your seal of singleness, which can suck. But at the same time, you're so happy, you're just like, whatever, let it go, let's see how it flows. Oh, I'm just gonna go with the flow, see how things are. Yeah, next thing you know, you're like, crap, we're in this really long-term relationship now. You know, we've been together for about a year now, and I'm thinking I want to move on now. But then the person you're with don't want to move, or maybe they want to move on and you don't want to move, you know. And you get to that point where you realize you hadn't really spoken about what your travel plans were, or whether or not you hadn't discussed with them whether or not they wanted to travel, or these things just hadn't come up, but you realize that you still want to travel. There's still places you want to see, but they don't want to see them. They want to have their career, they want to do that, you know, the settled life thing, and you don't want that. You have to again come to a compromise. You have to figure out, either come to a compromise or figure out what you really want. Is this relationship worth it? Once again, is it worth giving up your life of travel for this person? Or are you ready and willing to settle down with them? You know, if you're ready and willing to settle down with them, do it. If you're not, don't force yourself to, because once again, you don't want to end up with regret. So definitely it's something to think about a lot. It's something I think about more as I travel now, because mate, I am not so young. I know I keep saying that, but honestly I'm feeling it more every year, and because I know that there are so many other places I want to see. Time isn't as spare as it once was. When I was straight out of uni, I felt like I had all the time in the world to do everything, and now I feel like I don't have much left until I really want to kind of, because I want to have a family, I want to have kids, I want to settle down, I want to do that whole shebang. But I do want to start, like I want to do it before I'm 30, but at the same time I want to travel. So that doesn't give me long, okay? So it's like I have my timeline. So personally, I want to travel a lot. My boyfriend doesn't really want to travel a lot right now. You know, he can't for work. He just can't. His work just does not allow it at all. So it's like, it's trying to figure out that compromise and how it's going to work, and trying to figure out what you want and what you're willing to give or take for this to work. And it's something people sometimes don't think about. Some people want that career life, they want to settle down, so they don't really want to do the traveling thing. You know, it's for your preference. I knew I always wanted to live the creative lifestyle. I never wanted a career, I never wanted an office job, I never wanted corporate reality life. I didn't want any of that. I've always just kind of, I mean, and it's not to say that, I mean, I didn't want that long term. It's not to say I didn't want to experience these things. It's just that long term, I see myself wanting to travel more and more. And there's so many places in the world, my feet get itchy and I want to get up and walk away. All the time I want to get up and get on a flight and go somewhere. And that's just part of the gig. It's part of being a traveler, and it's something that you have to realize that you're going to feel eventually, like, its potential. Like, it's a potential thing that you're not going to ever live in one place anymore. And it's a scary thought, because man, it's difficult moving around all the time, and especially if you meet someone. So you do have to think about the other person and be considerate of other people's wishes, and realize that sacrifices are going to be made along the way, and it ain't gonna be easy. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's gonna be bloody hard, and it's gonna bloody suck a lot of the time, and you're gonna feel a lot of heartbreak, pain. I'm just kidding, I'm not selling this travel gig thing, but no, honestly, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I would never have given any of it up for the world. And even though I felt like so much like crazy crap over the last like 10 years of my life, but it has been worth it, I think. I wouldn't change any of my decisions. Have you ever been in the situation where you've wanted to travel, or your significant other, and it doesn't even have to be, it could be your parents that really don't want you to go. Like, they're like, no, I don't want you to go. Because I was once in a relationship where I was with a guy and he didn't want me to travel. He just didn't, and I couldn't take it, because I'm just like, I'm a traveler by nature. I feel like it was instinct, because it's not like something I learned. I didn't know any travelers, so yeah, it's just something that was instinct. So it's not something you can really ignore when it's just built into you, you know? It's just deep inside your roots. It's a bit of a deal breaker for me. Like, no travel, I'm sorry, I cannot live life with no travel. My children are just gonna be born into traveling. I'm gonna be traveling with my kid as soon as it's able to fly. That's how it's gonna work. Yeah, so it's tough, and good luck to all of you out there who are going through this. I feel your pain. I'm right there with you. I've been right there with you, and I hope that you guys can figure it out, and that compromise can be made, and no blood has to be shed in the fire, in the crossfire. There is no bloodshed in the end. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up, even though it was a bit intense. I hope you liked my video of Nice and enjoyed following me around the French Riviera. It was awesome. I had a fabulous time out there, and I can't wait until my next trip out of the city. I'm itching. My feet are like, ooh, tickle, 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 itchy, itchy. They're like, mama, walk, mama. Get on a bus out of town. Someone says I'm sounding more and more American every day. That's weird. I'm not. Maybe I am a little bit. Actually, I think I sounded more British now that I went home. I'm gonna really pull back my accent, you know, so I could feel like I'm British once more. Where should I go next? Any ideas? Anywhere in the Pacific Northwest that you could point me to that I haven't seen already? Or anywhere in the West Coast in general, anywhere on the west side of the Americas. Let me know. Have you been there? What's it like? Give me a suggestion. I'd love to visit some places. I need a trip. I'm ready, almost ready once I get more money. So I might make a video on traveling on zero money. I'm gonna show you guys I can actually do this, and so can you. So it's gonna be fun. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon. Look forward to the next video. Let's keep them coming. 안녕.